Ah yeah, they're releasing Gundam Battle Operation 2 on Steam. And it's banned in Belgium. Good evening everyone, and welcome to Gundam News. And no, that intro was not a joke. They're actually releasing Gundam Battle Operation 2 on Steam, and it's pretty crazy when you consider how long GBO1 and 2 have been running without a computer port ever being in sight. So now players who don't own a PlayStation 4 or 5 can give the game a shot if their computer meets the requirements. The recommended specs are a Ryzen 7 3800X or i5-10500, 16GB of RAM, and an RTX 2060 or RX Vega 56 GPU, with the minimum specs being an i7 8700 or Ryzen 5 3500X, 8GB of RAM, and a GTX 970 or RX 590. So while the RAM and GPU requirements are pretty run-of-the-mill, the CPU requirements sound absolutely crazy. Like, you're telling me that the recommended CPU to run something that runs on the PlayStation 4 is one of the top-of-the-line consumer CPUs, let's say, that still goes for over $300? And the minimum CPUs aren't even that much better, with both the AMD and Intel options still going for around $200. Which means that if you've built a budget PC in the last couple of years with something like a 3200G, you're not even meeting the minimum CPU requirements. So, frankly, this just kind of sounds like it's going to be an unoptimized port. But if you're from Belgium, you won't even have to worry about that, because that part also wasn't a joke. Belgian courts have decided that loot boxes, gachas, and a sword are the same as gambling and therefore fall under our gambling laws, which has typically led to one of two scenarios. In rare cases, games have been released, but without the ability to buy loot boxes, which I think is what FIFA has been doing. And then the second scenario is simply not releasing the game, period, which is what companies like Square Enix have been doing, or Konami with their recent free-to-play Yu-Gi-Oh game. And now, of course, Bamco has also joined that second option with the Gundam Battle Online 2. Now, this has also made me wonder if there's also a third possible option, because, well, I'm by no means a legal expert, but the way I've seen media report on this, it sounds like gaming companies could also just try to, stick to our gambling laws and release the games in full. But anyways, I absolutely, definitely did not use NordVPN to create an American Steam account so that I could download the game and so that I can also join in on the upcoming server tests. And if you too want to discover the amazing things that NordVPN can offer you and also can get you access to, you can use the link down below or the code kkrt. Not only will you be getting a sweet discount, but you'll also be supporting the channel. And I will definitely not be seeing you in-game as Kakarot Incognito. Gundam Evolution then, which isn't banned, yet, had both its Japanese and American network tests over the course of last week. And if you were one of the lucky selected ones, I hope you had fun and that everything went all right. Participants of the test will be getting an exclusive trial operation stamp and exclusive unit and weapon skins once their season pass reaches level 20. So I hope that we Europeans will also be getting a network test. Then for the Gunpla news, on the 12th, pre-orders on the Gundam base opened for the Gundam Decal DX number 7, dealing with all things iron-blooded orphans. And alongside of this set, number 2 and 5 were also restocked at the same time. and these are for the 1/144 scale UC kits, Gundam Seed kits, 1/100 scale Earth Federation kits, and 1/100 scale Zeon kits. Each set will cost 1,650 yen, a little under 15 US, and they're currently slated for an August release, which is also when the high-grade Tekadon Complete set and the Shidenkai Ryusei Go version will be getting a restock. After all, they gotta make sure that with the recent Gunpla stock issues, you actually have something to apply the damn stickers to. Well, stickers, water slides too. And because they could, they also restocked some non-limited kits, the high-grade Chimeris and the X-Model Albion. In other news then, more details were revealed for the Gundam Park Fukuoka and its accompanying life-sized new Gundam. In order to replicate the new Gundam pushing away axis, both the right arm and the head can move, and it's got 62 lights throughout the body to create an impressive light show. And they also released a trailer for the statue, which you can check out down below, provided you took up the NordVPN offer earlier, because, well, it's Japan only. And I find this region locking especially hilarious because in the same article, they said that one of the attraction points of the new Gundam is exactly its popularity both in Japan and overseas. So people overseas, you're definitely not getting to watch that really cool trailer. And it's definitely got some interesting things because we don't just get to see the new Gundam with its new fin funnel in action, but also the Sazabi with its new fin funnels. And both in form and function, they seem to be very similar to the one of the new Gundam. They're way bigger than the standard funnels, which is especially apparent for the Sazabi because, you know, it has those small cylinder things. They're much more powerful, and they can also go onto the arms to function as giant beam sabers. The biggest difference then is that the Sazabi has 2 of these new funnels, and the new Gundam only had the 1. And talking about the new Gundam and the Sazabi, real great styled 1/12 scaled statues of these machines will be at the entrance. Then, as for the things you could get this week, today the high-grade Gundam Asmodeus went on sale for 2,090 yen, a little over 15 US, and what definitely caught my attention here is how the English and Japanese names are different. As you're probably well aware, the Iron-Blooded Orphans Gundams are all named after demons, and, you know, because of how ancient these are, different ways of writing their names have been used throughout history. So the Japanese name is based on the most common way of writing it nowadays, Asmodeus, which comes from the Greek Asmodeus, which I believe is pronounced as Medius in English. But then the English name comes from one of the more common variants, Asmoday, Asmoday, except it's usually written with an I at the end, and the name of the Gundam ends with a Y. But however you want to pronounce the Asmo, it's got a partially new Gundam frame that allows it to replicate the claw gimmick on the feet and the Grand Tonfa action on the arms. It's got a javelin that also comes with a wire to allow part of it to shoot out, and it's got an extra rifle for good measure that can also be stored on the back skirt. And of course, if you want your own, I'll have it linked down below. And on the 11th then, the first volume of the Mobility Joined Gundam series launched for 649 yen a pop, around 6 US each. And considering the big selling point of this new line was the extreme amount of mobility they were able to put into a small SD figure, the choice of mobile suits is pretty interesting here. There's the RX-78-2, which has an add-on pack to turn it into the chonky Perfect Gundam. Then we have the Zeong, which isn't exactly known as a machine with great articulation, but fear not, we do get an add-on set to allow you to turn it into a very articulated Perfect Zeong. And then finally we get 2 Zakus, a standard Zaku 2 with a standard Zaku Bazooka, that then comes with an optional set to turn it into the R1 high mobility type with anti-ship rifle, and we get a Johnny Raiden custom commander type Zaku with a Zaku machine gun, that then comes with an optional set to turn it into his famous R2 high mobility type Zaku, that comes with the giant bazooka that it is so famous for. And you can of course also mix and match parts as you'd like. As for this week's reading material then, first of all there was volume 6 of Gundam Bandera, and for all of you who saw the development history on the Zeta, we now have a model number for the Lepus, the EMS-10LE, which then also basically confirms that it is actually a variant of the Zeta. Then next up is the Big Comic Superior, in which Gundam Thunderbolt is serialized, the Weekly Mobile Suit Bible, this time featuring the Zanuck, and finally a book completely analyzing Gundam 0083 with some extras on the 08th MS team and Gundam 0080. On to this week's Gundam Apparel then. Last week it wasn't that much, and this week is definitely compensating for it. On Friday, Bancore started accepting reservations for the second Mobile Suit Motif t-shirt collection, this time featuring designs inspired by the Zeta Gundam, Hyakushiki, Cubile, Gundam F91, and Wing Gundam. Each t-shirt will set you back 3,300 yen, 30 US, and has the name of the machine in the front, the backpack on the back, or, well, at least part of the backpack, and then either the faction emblem or personal emblem on the left sleeve. On Tuesday then, they opened reservations for, let's say, more obviously Mobile Suit inspired t-shirts. There is the full color light t-shirt collection featuring 2 different RX-72 designs, a Sharks Custom Zaku 2 design, and a Zeong design. And then there was the third full color t-shirt collection featuring the RX-72, Sharks Custom Zaku, the Zaku 2 F-Type, the Goof, and the Black Tri-Stars' Dom doing the Jetstream attack. And all of these full color t-shirts are 3,850 yen, around 35 US, and will be releasing in May, which is also when the Mobile Suit Motif t-shirts release. And then the final Bancore thing were 2 acrylic logo display X's. There's one for Anaheim Electronics and one for ECOWAS. They're 1,320 yen each, around 10 US. Reservations started on Tuesday and they're scheduled to ship out in June. And Strict G then has some collaborations as usual. They're again collaborating with the French sneaker brand Patrick, this time to bring us Gundam Seed inspired sneakers. For 22,550 yen, around 180 US, you can get them in either what they're describing as Kira Yamato Blue or Athron Zala Red. But honestly, looking at these designs, I feel more like they're inspired by the factions that they're fighting for. So, Earth Alliance Blue and Zaft Red. Also, when I saw the banner image that said Gundam Seed Patrick, my first thought was, are we getting a Patrick Zala inspired sneaker? Like, it even says Patrick on the shoe itself, so that is a pretty funny coincidence. And they released on the 9th. Their second collaboration then is with Jam Homemade to create Gundam-inspired jewelry. For 29,700 yen, around 240 US, you can buy a Gundam, Char Zaku, or mass production Zaku ring, and for 19,800 yen, around 160 US, you can get a Gundam or Char Zaku necklace. And I'm gonna be honest here, but for those prices, this jewelry looks kinda jank. Like, especially for being promotional images, that paint job looks extremely cheap and underwhelming. This feels more like something that would come from a gachapon machine than being pretty expensive jewelry. But let's wrap up this week's Gundam news by having a look at the currently ongoing poll of Gundam.Info. With the full-scale new Gundam being officially opened on the 25th, they want to know which one of its special features interests us the most. And is anyone surprised that with 231 votes, the long-range fin funnel is in first place by a long shot? No. So moving on to the battle for second place, where things are actually super close. 49 people voted for the fact that the head and the right arm will move, and 47 people voted for the fact that it is the biggest full-scale Gundam statue to date. And here's how I feel about that battle for second place. Having a moving head and arm is just plain cool, and is always going to be cool no matter in which context you put it in. Whereas being the biggest full-scale Gundam statue is definitely a nice statistic, but it's also not that much bigger than the other ones that we've gotten. Like, if the only other Gundam statues were 1/2 scale or smaller, then this thing being a giant full-scale Gundam statue would have been more impressive. Then, moving on to the last place, the highly saturated tricolor markings is what 22 people thought was the coolest thing about this full-scale new Gundam. And, well, all I can say about that is different strokes for different folks, because I really do feel like the new Gundam's original color scheme looked way better. And if you want to cast your own vote in the poll, I will have it linked down below. And that has been all for this week's Gundam news. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great evening, and I'll see you all next week with more Gundam news.